All right, this is Devin Wise, and I am going to be walking you through the e-learning module for D299. The first thing, how the module accomplishes the learning goals and learning objectives. So this is a learning module about how to respond to somebody when they are angry. The learning goals right here. Overall learning goal is going to be you will be able to respond appropriately to someone who is angry. There are 3 learning objectives below that kind of build to this, being able to identify the physical signs of anger, the verbal signs of anger, and applying strategies to respond to somebody that is angry. If we take a look at the outline of the module, we kind of start with, what is this emotion? What is anger? We then move into the physical signs of anger, which was one of the learning objectives. We move into the verbal signs of anger, which is the second learning objective, and then how to respond to someone who is angry, or the strategies for responding, which is that third learning objective. If we just kind of peek inside, we can see that the content is chunked, quite a bit of white space, kind of an attendant image with each one. As we scroll through, we have the use of some different media, like a video right here. A description of kind of the different types of angers presented in a different way for students to access, and then a little knowledge check question after that. So thinking about those learning objectives, here was the first one, looking at the different types of physical signs of anger, a description, followed by an interactive image where students can click on these nodes and they will bring up a description of whatever it is they're looking at. Scroll down, posture, same idea, the nodes to click on. Torso tension, again, nodes for the student to click on for descriptions, and that's followed by a short knowledge check question. It's the same idea with the verbal signs of anger. This one kind of uses a different presentation approach where the student is going to click through some flashcards that offer a more cartoony looking image than the previous one, but we have, again, what they're going to be reading about, short little blurb to explain it. So they would flip through these. And then another knowledge check question. The third objective, how to respond to someone who's angry. So those strategies, again, takes another different little presentation technique where they're all kind of presented up here like this. So the student would click. They would read through those different ones. There's a video to kind of reinforce the things that they have read with the transcript available, and then a drag and drop formative assessment right there. Different types of media, as we've seen, are kind of integrated into this. Again, from this first one, what is anger? We do have the text elements, we have the images, we've got a video right here about what is anger. When we looked at the physical signs of anger, we had the interactive images. When we looked at the verbal signs of anger, another reading, but kind of using that flashcard presentation. Responding to someone who's angry, again, text kind of presented in that chunked format, followed by, again, another video type of presentation. What not to say when someone's angry, again, uses a very similar flashcard approach. Thinking about the different types of formative assessments. So these sections all in here from what is anger through scenarios for practice. These are where the instruction occurs. The end of each section, as we've kind of already seen, has those different formative assessments. So if we look at what is anger, we have a true or false question. If we go to the physical signs of anger, we have a different type of formative assessment. This one is going to be selecting multiple answers. If we go down to the verbal signs of anger, again, another similar one where they're going to be selecting multiple answers. How to react when someone is angry. This one switches it up a little bit. We have the different strategies that you could use, and then they're going to drag and drop them to the short definition of that strategy. And then the third unique type of formative assessment are these scenarios right here. So the students are going to be engaging in some branching scenarios where they kind of have to recognize, is this person angry? How do you respond to the things that they're saying? So if we kind of look here, scenario number one, you were presented with a little blurb about what's going on. I skipped that on the first one. The character says something, student is presented with choices. They're given immediate feedback on whether or not it was correct. They're able to continue. They're presented with another comment, and then they need to decide what is going to be the best thing. So if we click on that, we're given feedback, and then ultimately, that kind of final feedback on that formative. So they go through 3 different scenarios in that piece right there. Following all of that instruction, following those formatives, we do have a summative assessment right down here. It's 8 questions. As you can see, you need a score of 75% or more to pass. This summative features a couple different types of questions. So we've got, again, a select multiple answers. We've got a standard multiple choice, a true or false, some select all. And then there are also some scenario questions, giving them a short little, here's what's happening to this individual, how should you respond? So thinking about those strategies that they had learned. So that is what it looks like from the author's point of view. After the summative, there is a kind of short recap. What did you learn in this module about anger, about responding to anger? And then following that is the list of references that were used to create this, including the text and the videos. So that's what this looks like from the author's point of view. From the student point of view, it looks a bit different. It looks kind of like this. So this would be their welcome page. Again, the title of the module with a picture that's relevant. So a description of what they're going to be learning right here, and then here's that outline of the different things they're going to be engaging in. The way that I have this course set up is that you can't just skip through whatever you want. So if we haven't even gone through the tech and privacy screen yet, I can't click here because it says the lessons must be completed in order, just to kind of help give students that direction, knowing that they need to progress through the modules in order. So to get started, you could click Start Course right there. You can also click Tech and Privacy right there. And it'll kind of start to take us through the module. Learners interact by just so there are no back or next navigation. As they scroll down, there is that continue button. As they continue to scroll down, elements will appear. If we kind of look over here on the side, 8% complete, and there's also that module outline so students know where they are in the module. Again, they can continue going down, reading, takes them to the learning goals and objectives. And then we get into the contents where, again, you're presented with graphics, things to read, captions. So we keep scrolling down, presents us with that video. So the video.
Anger, like fire, can be...
Right here, there is that transcript available to students, which is not showing up on the screen because the screen is just focused on articulate. Scrolling down, more to read, again, presented in a bit of a different way where they kind of tap to expand the boxes, and it says right there, expand each box. And then they're given a knowledge check, true or false for this one. So if we answer being angry can harm your physical and mental health, let's just say false. Let's see what happens. So they're given, that immediate feedback, this isn't right, so let's try it again. Maybe it's true and correct, and it kind of gives a little bit of an explanation for why it's correct. So we can continue through there. This is actually going to be a good screen to look at. So again, kind of giving you that overall, what are you going to be learning in this lesson, the physical signs of anger. We have short little few sentences about what happens to your face, and then we get into one of the more interactive elements. So they write about what happens to somebody's face, and they're given an interactive screen. Saw this from the author's point of view. Here it is from the student point of view. So we have those little nodules that you can click to see what it is. And I think this is especially helpful because not only do you see it, the nodule for the eyebrows connected to the eyebrows, for the eyes connected near the eyes, for the clenched jaw connected right there. So they keep going. More on posture, another interactive image as they go down again into the formative knowledge check. So clenched into fists, eyebrows are furrowed, shows us what's correct, what's incorrect. Just can flip through those flashcards. See what it says if we just randomly submit. So not quite. There are a few that we got incorrect. And so that is what it looks like from the student view. Moving on to the next order of business, we have our e-learning experience quality standards rubric. So I'm going to start from standard number 1. We're going to go through standard number 6. And I'm going to point out where in the module all of these things appear. For 1.1, the learning objectives and the learning goals, they are available very early in the module, so students know what the goal is, what they're going to be learning. So again, there's the overall goal. There are the 3 learning objectives. They are clearly defined. They are measurable as well, as we've seen from the formative and summative assessment at the end of the module. Whether they can identify those signs or those strategies are going to be measured by a multiple choice question. The standard 1.2, thinking about those learning objectives, we've kind of already seen that they're all supported by content in the module. Learning objective number 1 was the physical signs of anger. So here's the lesson with all that content. Learning objective 2 was the verbal signs of anger. There is the lesson for that. And then learning objective number 3 was strategies for responding. And there is the lesson concerning that one. Standard 1.3, instructional design strategies are used throughout this. This module uses micro learning. So again, each of these different things is kind of broken up into its own lesson. So again, if we go back into the physical signs of anger, this lesson just about that one thing. The content is chunked. So again, you have this introduction section. You have this short reading right here, which is only it's only 3 sentences, so it's very manageable. Uses some different multimedia. So this particular page used the interactive images. Also, another instructional design best practice, again, making sure through a formative on each of those lessons that students are learning what was intended. So it's pretty consistent throughout. If we look at the verbal signs of anger, again, micro learning, we're just focusing on this for this lesson. This one uses that kind of different multimedia format. It uses the flashcards, which also helps to provide some images, also kind of chunks out that reading rather than presenting the block of text. If we go back, or if we go to the next one, how to respond to somebody who's angry, again, micro learning, it's about responding to people who are angry, chunks the reading out into these different tabs. And then for more multimedia, presents a video that kind of reinforces these different strategies before measuring the knowledge with a formative assessment right there. Standard 1.4, I think we've just demonstrated that the information is chunked into manageable sections for students to tackle one at a time. Moving on to standard number 2, content and resources are factually correct. So again, we have the list of references right here that I used to define some of the terms, to find the strategies, to find out about physical and verbal signs of anger. So these are all of the sources to ensure factual accuracy. Standard 2.2, as we've seen, as this has been presented, free from any grammatical or spelling errors. Standard 2.3, sourcing materials ethically. So again, making sure on this reference page to cite where all this information has come from, including there's one of the YouTube videos. There's another one of the YouTube videos that was used. 2.4, representative of culturally diverse perspectives. So again, thinking about some of the images that are used throughout this module, they present people from various cultural backgrounds. Standard 2.5, so this content being relevant to the learner. So the intended target audience are high school students with moderate to severe disabilities. These students often have a great deal of difficulty in social situations, identifying emotions, responding appropriately to emotions. So helping them identify, what does this emotion look like? How do you respond to it is going to be very helpful for them. Again, the reading level of many of these students is somewhere in the elementary to middle school range. So thinking about the way that the reading is presented, it's very short. So this is the verbal signs of anger, the first one. This is only 3 sentences, so it's presented in a very manageable way. Moving on to standard number 3, presentation and layout, thinking about titles and subtitles. So again, we have the different titles of the modules here. Again, introduction for a subtitle. There's a subtitle that is relevant to, so using accusatory statements, and then this chunk is all about using or not using accusatory statements. ignoring or invalidating feelings. This chunk is all about that. Not getting angry or defensive. That chunk is all about that, and that's very consistent throughout this e-learning module. The color scheme throughout this is very consistent as well. It kind of uses that white. We have the white background. We kind of have the orange accent. It's got the black text, again, against a white background for high contrast. Only really the continue button is that really orange as you go through the module, which helps students for the purposes of navigation, because just as they are scrolling through it, yes, there is a bit of that orange, but this is very visible, and once you get to the bottom of the page, it's going to be easy to see that. Standard 3.3, thinking about visual design principles. This e-learning module uses quite a bit of white space to make content easier to see, easier to read for students. So again, you have this short sentence right here, and it's framed by a lot of white space, adequate space in between the images and the text right there. Again, it follows that kind of visual hierarchy. You look at the image of the angry child and it leads into the text about that, or you look at the image of a frustrated woman, you read relevant text. Looking at the image of the man yelling, reading the relevant text. Everything is well aligned. So again, if you look at this page, all of the images, all the captions are aligned. The text on the right is aligned. These are all center aligned. Again, you can see the use of white space there as well. Moving to standard number 4, usability and accessibility. So navigation, logical, consistent. So again, if we just start from the top, moving through the start course, the navigation works the exact same way. There are 2 ways to navigate. You can go over here, but again, it is shut off because you need to go in order. So as students scroll through, they're going to get to that continue button. Scrolling down through the lesson, reading, learning, getting to that continue button. So it is logical. They know that continue button is always going to be at the bottom of each section. It's going to take you to the next section. It's not going to take you to the section before, so it's consistent. Looking at standard 4.2, text equivalents for non-text elements. I'm not going to take you through every single graphic, but let's just look at what is anger. So again, we do have a picture that does have a caption. If we edit this right here, go to edit again, we do have an alt tag that is the caption. If we look at the next image, again, we have our caption right here. If we look in here, there's the alt tag again. And the final image, a man yelling. If we go over here, we can see the alt tag right there. So that is consistent for all of the images right here. This section also has one of the 2 videos. Below each video is a video transcript, which does take you to a video transcript. Let's see if I can bring up our video transcript. So that link links to a Google Drive document that looks like this right here. So again, this is our transcript. It also has the timestamps as well, so that you can follow along if necessary. All right, let's return to let's see. Let's return to our module. All right. So that is the video transcript. If we skip over to the other one right here, here's the other video. Again, same idea. It's going to take you to a Google Drive file that has a transcript for this video right here. That also takes care of standard 4.3. Videos have accurate captions and transcripts. This particular module uses video transcripts, which we just saw. Looking at standard 4.4, graphics can be understood without color for context. Let's just look in our physical signs of anger. So again, this image, it is in color. It's almost grayscale. We can see an angry individual. This particular third image is actually in black and white, and nothing about the anger is lost without the color. So I think that kind of goes. If we look at this image right here, it's in full color, but if this were in black and white, nothing about what this woman is doing would be lost. And again, we have those nodules as well. Standard 4.5, tech tools meeting accessibility and usability standards. So we have the transcripts available for those two videos right there. So there's one of the transcripts. We have the alt text available for the images. Let's just peer at another image. So if we look at this one right here, alt tag, there's your alt tag right there. Standard 4.6, access to academic and technical tools. That actually appears early up in here. So the two tools being used, Google Chrome, the Google Chrome browser, and Articulate 360 is the course authoring tool. So if anyone should need assistance navigating those programs, there is the link right there to a help article for each of those. Moving on to standard number 5, technology and tools. The tech skills, again, is outlined right here, along with the help that they may need from those two articles. This moves into standard 5.2, learner privacy and confidentiality. So right here is a statement of the data that is going to be collected in this e-learning module, as well as what it's going to be used for. So being used for data analytics. Standard 5.3, flexibility in the use of tools. This is kind of used throughout the module in terms of how content is presented. So again, we have the text, we have the interactive image right there. Moving on to this one, again, we have the text kind of presented in a different way. We have the multimedia video resource. Moving on to standard number 6, assessment. Assessments are aligned and support the learning objectives. So again, the learning objectives were identifying the physical signs of anger, the verbal signs of anger, how to respond, or the strategies for that. So in each of these lessons, you have information related to that learning objective, and then you have a formative assessment that is directly related to that learning objective. So there it is for learning objective number 1. Here is the contents for learning objective number 2, presented in that flashcard format, and a formative assessment directly related to learning objective 2. Move to learning objective number 3, so it's kind of presented again in that different format. And then a drag and drop formative assessments for learning objective number 3. Obviously, those are ultimately assessed on the summative assessment at the end of the module. So the summative assessment is 8 questions. Thinking about standard 6.2, here is the 75% needed to pass. So that is the clear grading policy. 6.3, the valid course assessments. So we just looked at the formative assessments for these. These 3 are directly related to learning objective 1, learning objective 2, learning objective 3. We saw when we were in there. Here's the one for learning objective 1. We learn about physical signs of anger, and we have a formative assessment that is about the physical signs of anger. So it is a valid assessment that is reflective of the other 2 as well, and it is also reflective of the summative. Standard 6.4, learners have easy access to information about learning progress. So again, when we look in the student view and we start the course, as they move through the module, as they scroll through, that little bar fills up, and again, you can hover over it and it'll show 67% completed. If we click continue, it'll move down, it'll highlight what you're in. So the learner can also look over here and see this is how far they are, this is how many modules they have left. And then the last one, 6.5, timely assessment feedback. So again, each of the formative assessments has you answer, you submit, you're given that immediate feedback. So that's an example of some correct feedback. There's an example of some incorrect feedback. So if they get it incorrect, they know I need to take another try at that formative assessment. And that concludes the walkthrough of this learning module.